All right, so I put the 12-24 on Joya's camera, so we're gonna use that today. I wanna go out and test the FX3 with this new gimbal that we got last week as well, because I need to test that out as well. So I thought, why not combine both? Get some shots that I can try and grade and work a little bit with in slow motion on the FX3, and then fly them on the gimbal at the same time. But first, I need to switch everything around here so I can actually use the gimbal on this and then balance it so we can go. And it's so annoying that it's not possible to actually use the same plate on the gimbal as well. But I have to switch it our ways. And it's of course also two different, whatever these are called, twisty things. So yeah, just need to switch this around. Let's see if we can screw this in. There we go. And the good thing is that this is a little bit lighter, so it should be pretty easy. I think I'm going to put it to controlling the aperture in the camera. Then I think we're going to balance it around the middle here. This, make sure to put an ND filter on first. Okay, like this. And hopefully there's still battery on the gimbal. Things are missing. Question becomes, in all of this mess, where I've put that right in front of me. Okay, slide this one in here. Still getting used to using this gimbal. Making sure anything else is unlocked. Okay. There we go. Lock that axis. Then also put front heavy here, this back, and there. And we lock this axis again. Gimbal to the side, and bring that. And then we need the last test to lock this one again. Right here. And that is pretty much perfectly balanced already. Now unlocking all the axes, should have the gimbal balanced. Perfect. We turn it on, and if we go to 24, still fine. If we go to 70, also still fine. Perfect. Let's put it back to the middle, and then we're good to go. Here's just a few quick samples, and then we're heading straight into me talking about and walking through it. Alright, so I am back home again, and for you just saw a few B-roll shots, but I had a few different intentions, and I realized first of all it was too much to carry two cameras around with me. It was awkward enough yesterday to go around vlogging all by myself, so I decided to walk around with a gimbal and a camera on there was enough, and then I could just have my AirPods in. I was planning on talking a little bit to the camera out there, saying what I was gonna do, but I ended up just walking around, and when I finally wanted to give a little update, the bottom plate thing that I can't find right now that goes on the gimbal got loose from the camera, so I couldn't actually walk around and shoot, and I had to carry the gimbal and the camera separately. So all of that said, I did capture some shots, and I haven't looked at them myself yet. So what I'm gonna do now is just take the footage and dump it straight into DaVinci here, and you can see what I'm doing at the same time. So we take all the clips that I shot today, change the frame rate, and I shot in a bunch of different frame rates. So the first thing I always do is go in and sort them from the frame rate. So we have a lot here that I shot in fact, I shot everything pretty much in 60. So I go in here and I change it to 30, and that way everything will be 30 frames per second when I drag it into the timeline. So I'm just gonna drag it in here without the audio, and there we have all the clips. All right, so just a few notes on the overall experience of going around and shooting with it today, just using it as a proper video camera and just shooting. I actually found that when I took the camera off the gimbal and shot a few shots with it just by itself, it was almost too lightweight, which I want a lightweight camera because that's going to be easier to carry around. But I definitely noticed a difference from the heavier R6 with the heavier lens, being able to what felt like getting a smoother motion. Now, I wasn't doing my best because I had a gimbal under my arm most of the time, but it was just something I noticed. It's a little bit more difficult to keep it steady as opposed to having more weight. So that's definitely one thing. The dual native ISO is so insanely good. Having the ND filter on and just being able to, if it's too dark, instead of having to screw it on and off, especially because this is threaded, just being able to push up to 12,800 ISO and then probably go to ND5. It's probably not something I would do always, and especially on a professional shoot, then I would probably take the ND off. But just for like run and gun, walking around, that was so easy to just switch it up and then get more ND. So definitely something that I enjoyed by that, and just overall the excitement of the dual native ISO is something that I've wanted for such a long time. The peaking and manual focus, I shot mostly manual when I was out, just to have full control on that side. Love autofocus when I'm shooting people, but when not, then I rather choose what I focus on myself. And I always found it a little bit more difficult to choose that or select that on Sony, so I need to get used to that. So manual focus it was, but the peaking settings again, making it so easy to see what I'm actually focusing on. So I really enjoyed that. Now we're gonna see if things are actually in focus. The button on the front of the camera, the record button there, was so nice to have when I had it on the gimbal. Instead of constantly reaching on top of the camera, I usually hold the gimbal with my right hand, so it was easier to just reach the front of the camera and turn on the camera that way. The way that I exposed all these shots, because I wasn't exposing for skin tones, was either having Zebra 2 set to 85 plus to make sure that the highlights were not clipping, because sometimes I had the sky and a lot of shadows and everything, and the other times I was mostly going for exposing plus 1.3 to plus 1.7 in S3. Now that's overall like a rule of thumb. Some of them were exposed to 0, some of them were exposed to 1, so we're gonna have to see how everything holds up. But when I could control the exposure without the sky or anything looking like it was going to clip, that was mostly what I was going for. So with those notes out of the way, let's just choose a couple of clips that we can work with here. So just gonna look through what we have, give myself a little bit more space here. This was just walking through the city. It doesn't actually look that good with the gimbal. Then I was trying to do some funky shots. That one could work. Let's do this one. So I'm just gonna drag that up to timeline 2 here. I liked this one as well. And I tried to do something with the cinema here. And then I think we're gonna come to the shots that I actually wanted to get. So these were those staircases. This is pretty much why I went out to shoot today. They look a little bit chubby. I don't think that's a playback, that's the microphone hitting the gimbal. This looks okay. And I think this is one of the better ones. Let's use it from, let's use the clip from here and then use just the last bit. Overall, I think these shots working pretty well. Quick tracking shot, slow motion. Looks pretty good. Let's just take that one that has a lot of random stuff in it. And these were some of the last handheld shots that I did. So I think this one can work. And then I had a fire truck coming through. So these are the clips that I just want to look at. And to look at them, we are just going to focus on those few. How many do we have? We have 9 clips. Probably not going to do all of them. I am going to add my power grade here. And that is going to be the wrong settings because that's set up to Canon. So let's just switch that to Escamet Cine and S3. And this is just the overall conversion here. And I think we're just going to throw my LUT on there as well and then see if we need to adjust anything after that. But I think that looks pretty good. And just apply that to all of the clips. And let's have a look at how it looks. Okay, so this is the first clip. This might be a little bit long. Let's find a place where I'm actually moving. Here we go. I think it's pretty good. Like the shallow depth of field from the 24-70 is definitely nice. I really like the focus on everything here. I do think it's a little bit chubby, and that's probably just because of my gimbal work. So I'm just going to cut out this part of the clip, and I'm going to throw a little bit of stabilization on it here. Immediately that looks way better. Very happy with how that looks. Okay, let's jump to one of the other ones here. This was just a quick random shot as well. Again, I think this looks great. It all tends to lie quite far down. That's probably because I tried to expose it for the sky here. So let's just try and increase the exposure a little bit without clipping the sky. Probably go half a stop up. One stop, and we still have detail in the sky. I think this is a very clean, very sharp image overall. Very happy with that. See this one. this one is definitely exposed how it was supposed to. Very sharp up until the cinema there. Did manual focus here. Very, very happy with how that looks. Okay, here comes one of the shots that I really wanted to test out. And I can see some of the other ones look like they're a little bit underexposed. Let's just see here. I think this one starts around here. Again, we have to throw a little bit of stabilization on it, so let's see if that helps. When does the movement start? Around here. And it goes to around here. Let's just run some basic stabilization and see it again. That's already way better. I think this was manual focus as well. I'm not sure, but it's so clean and looking good. If we're looking at the waveform here, also just looks really, really good. Okay, let's try a few of the other ones here. These were, they look a bit underexposed, but it's still super sharp. There's no grain at all, as far as I can see. It's a bit of a random shot. This one is a lot better to test. This one, I think I was underexposing it quite a lot. So let's just try and bring the exposure up. Let's try it, oops, with one stop first. Maybe 2 stops. We can even go, let's try 1.5. It's already looking good, and I really enjoy how sharp and great this is. Because the manual focus is so easy to use, I feel like it's so easy to just select something. This one is very underexposed because of my LUT. My LUT does a little bit. Let's just try and see how much we can push this one. I think we're getting some sky here that might be clipping. Wasn't initially clipping slightly, but it's okay. So 1.5 stops again here. I tried to track. I heard that skater coming, so I didn't really have time to do the settings. He just rolled through. It's tracking him pretty well, considering that I didn't focus on anything particularly. This is the autofocus running. And just very happy with how that looks. Here's a handheld one, so I have 2 of the last ones here handheld. This one I could have exposed a little bit higher, I think. Let's try and get a bit, just one more stop. Now I think we're squeezing half a stop. You don't necessarily need it. It's also pretty good. So this was handheld. What if we try to stabilize that one? I think that's so good. I'm curious to maybe take my R5, oh, I don't have an R5, my R6 out one of the days and just do a complete comparison between the two and see if I can actually see a difference. Because right now I'm just blown away by how good this is looking and how easy it was to get everything in focus, especially because I never really shot with manual focus before. Okay, this last one was also just, I didn't really have time for the settings because it was just a fire truck coming through. So it looks like it's a bit underexposed. And this was also handheld with a gimbal under my arm. But the colors are so good. This is just without the LUT. So this is just the Rec 709 and this is with the LUT on. And let's just try and push this. 2 stops, that's too much. 1 stop maybe? Yeah, I think 1 stop helps a little bit here. Losing focus a little bit and catching it again. I don't actually think it's losing focus, or it's just a little bit too close. Okay, I think these were really cool to just test out. It wasn't anything specific I wanted to show in this. I just wanted to test it out, give my reactions. Super sharp and really good looking, but it is the G Master lenses as well. And as Joya told me earlier, it's a little bit dangerous to test those out because then I kind of want those when or if I get an FX3 myself as well. But this lens, the 24-70 f2.8, which is what I shot all this with, would be the same one equivalent to what I have on the R6 over here. It's so much heavier. So I think tomorrow or the next day, I'm gonna go out and try and do just a few comparison shots, so I can actually compare them one to one and see if there are any differences while I still have this camera. And yeah, I think that was it. I'm just gonna end the vlog here. If you have any questions, like on the last vlog, just let me know down below if there's anything you would like me to test. I already had one suggestion for showing how the FX3 is without any external lighting. So I can do one indoor shot, and you already kind of saw it in the first one, but do some outdoor shots as well, just to show that, how I would light and set that up. And yeah, if you have any other questions, just let me know. Just testing things out and playing around here and trying to document it at the same time. So I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care.